Hi, welcome again to Ancient Tales for Today, 古今今谈. Today we have an interesting lesson, and that lesson is what went wrong. We'll come back to that in a minute, but last lesson was a very interesting one. It was about no longer alone. No longer alone. See, we're talking about the very beginnings of time. We're talking about where we came from, where our world came from, and more than 3,500 years ago, about that 3,500 years ago, it was written down in a book. It didn't look like this book for sure. Okay, so No Longer Alone was about the beginnings and how Adam got a companion, 有伴侣, okay, and her name was Eve. Now, let's stop for a moment and look at today's story.
Story number 5. What went wrong? In this perfect place that the ancient tales call the Garden of Eden, it's hard to see how anything could go wrong. Just one man and one woman, and they live happily in this beautiful garden? You would think it would be like this forever. Sadly, that didn't happen. So what went wrong? Remember that the Creator had told Adam and Eve they could eat from every tree except one. The one that was forbidden was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Why? Because knowledge of evil, in contrast to good, would lead to their death, not as a punishment for disobedience, but because evil kills. It's a natural result of what evil is. Evil causes death. But the serpent, who had already chosen evil, told Eve that the Creator was lying. He claimed that God was keeping things from them, things that they would want. He said that it wasn't true that if you ate this particular fruit, then you would die. So Eve tried the fruit. She chose to believe the serpent and disbelieve what God had said. That is the real point here. Not that she ate some fruit, but that she didn't trust God. Adam ate the fruit too, showing he agreed with Eve and the serpent. That's the real tragedy. They broke their relationship with their loving Creator. The fruit wasn't like poison that kills immediately, but they began to die spiritually and physically. They were separated from their Father and had to leave the garden. As Adam and Eve left their home, they left behind more than a beautiful garden. They left behind their former lives that were so full of promise. They left behind their innocence. Worst of all, they left behind their trust in their Creator and friend. That's the truth about what went wrong.
Okay, today's lesson, what went wrong? What went wrong? Okay, in this perfect place that the ancient tales calls the Garden of Eden. So remember that book, The Ancient Tales? Okay, in a perfect place, 完完全全的一个地方，名叫什么？ The Garden of Eden， 在伊甸园。It's hard to see， 很不容易啊 ，hard to see， 很不容易hard to see。Okay, in this case, it's an idiom. Okay, it's hard to see. Okay, how anything could go wrong. 怎么可能发生任何一件事情 How could something go wrong in a perfect environment? Everything is perfect? So now we're looking at some of the big questions. These are questions that many people have asked for thousands of years, actually. Now, just one man and one woman, and they live happily. Okay, 生活的好快乐. They lived happily in this beautiful garden. Can you imagine living in a garden? I mean, we're used to living in houses, but they lived in a garden. Temperature must have been awfully nice. 这个温度肯定是很好 okay? You would think 你可能 okay? 可能会想 it would be like this forever 会保持到永远永永远远 okay? So you think oh wow, it's going to last like this forever. Sadly, 令人很悲伤的 okay? Sadly, it didn't happen. 不是那样发生的 Okay, so what went wrong? 到底发生了什么事 Remember, 你记得吗 The Creator, 这个创造主 okay? The Creator, He said that you have to eat or you can eat all the fruit. And he told Adam and Eve, both, by this time you have Eve, you eat all the fruit except there's one tree, 有一棵树, and you cannot eat the fruit on this one, 除了那棵树的果子以外. You can eat them all the rest. Going on. The one that was forbidden, 被禁止的, 限制的, 禁止的, forbidden, was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Now, I don't know what kind of tree it was. The Gu Jing doesn't really say what the tree looked like. It must have been a very beautiful tree and beautiful fruit, because Gu Jing says that it was beautiful. But the name of the tree was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. 这个分别善恶树 okay? Why? Because the knowledge of evil, 这个邪恶的知识跟好事 good would lead to deaths. So if you knew about 邪恶 evil, this knowledge 会带来死亡. Now, keep in mind, this is not punishment. this is not punishment, 不是惩罚 for disobedience. Disobedience is 不听话, okay? Okay? So it's not a 惩罚 because, this is important, evil kills. 邪恶会害死人. Evil kills. It's a natural result of what evil is. Okay? 自然的结果, natural result of evil. Evil causes death. 邪恶会带来死亡. That's the way it was in the beginning. It's worth thinking about now. But the serpent, okay? Serpent is a snake. Now, this serpent is special. It talks. We will discover that there was somebody talking through the serpent. But right now, let's just say serpent, 有一个蛇, had already chosen evil. We say the servant maybe is Satan or 魔鬼 or so on. He had already chosen evil. He told Eve that the Creator was lying. 就告诉这个夏娃，这个创造主是说谎的 lying. He claimed. 这个是他自己说的，没有依据啊。He claimed that God was keeping things from them. 他是保密的 keeping things from them, 保留的 okay? Things that they would want. Things, 这个他说保密的，他们肯定是要的，但是他不愿意给的啦。He said that it wasn't true that if you ate that particular fruit, you would die. 他是明明说这不对啊，你吃这个树 this particular fruit 这个，在这个地方 particular 这个特别的这个 okay, you would not die. Okay? He says this is a lie. If you eat this, you won't die. So Eve is thinking this thing through. Now, we're going to take a little break, and we'll be back in just a moment. Lena, how are you?
我很好啊，谢谢。
Good. Listen, we're going to look at Hebrews 11:1.
好，
So let's take a look at it. It's a very, very simple one. It says, Now faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see.
我现在读的呢是希伯来书第11章的第1节，朋友们，这里说的一个事实很简单，但是让我们学习起来不简单哦。是说信就是所望之事的实底，是未见之事的确据。
Now, it is very important to trust other people.
对对对，
So in our story for today, we see that the Adam and Eve trusted a snake,
是的，
a talking snake. I don't know.
对，对，
Have you
对，
ever seen a
对，
talking
对。
snake? 哎呀，会讲话的不简单的。They trusted the snake and distrusted God. How important is trust?
我想就是因为他们不信任神，不信靠神，然后他们和神的关系就破裂了。那艾老师，我也想到，其实人和人的关系也是这样，如果没有了信任，那么这个关系也就没有价值，也就破裂了，对不对？
That's true. Stay by and we'll have some more. So as we continue, Eve tried the fruit. 他试过 ，OK， 这个水果 ，OK， so she tried the fruit, even though God said don't eat it, and the devil 这个魔鬼 lied, so she chose to believe the serpent. She believed the snake. Serpent is a snake, okay, okay. And she believed the snake and disbelieved. 不什么？信任，不信任上帝所说的话。Okay? So Eve tried the fruit. She chose to believe the serpent and disbelieve. That means not to believe. 不信任 what God had said. That's the real point. 这个真正的这个主要的意思呢，就是在这个地方。Not that she ate the fruit, but she didn't trust God. 我看你吃水果呢，会害我们到什么地步 ？No, that's not the point. 这个不是主要点 ，point 主要点 ，OK? The point is, she did not trust God. 她不信任上帝。Okay, going on. Adam ate the fruit too. Eve ate the fruit first. He gave it to Adam. He ate the fruit, showing that he agreed. 他认同，跟夏娃认同 and agreed with Eve and the serpent. See, I imagine that the serpent was eating the fruit, and she says, "Hey, try it. It's not so bad. Just try some of this fruit." Okay, it's a real tragedy. Tragedy. What is a tragedy? Tragedy is something bad that happens, okay? What is the real tragedy of this situation? The tragedy is they broke their relationship with their loving creator. Okay? Loving creator, 这个亲爱的创造主 they broke their relationship. We all live in relationships. 我们跟别人都有一些关系 Good relationships, 有些是不好的关系 Originally, 最起初 men, Adam and Eve, had a good relationship with God. Okay? Okay? When they ate the fruit, they broke their relationship with God. Okay? 破掉他们的关系就破掉 Okay? I don't think that the fruit was poisonous. I don't think God would create a poison fruit. Okay? Maybe nowadays there are, but in the beginning, no. The fruit wasn't 不是毒药品啊。The fruit wasn't like poison that kills immediately. 不是马上这杀死人 But they began to die. 因为这个关系破了，他们就开始死，渐渐的 slowly. And they were dying spiritually. 灵性上还有身体上就开始死。They were separated from their father. Okay? If God is the source, that if life comes from God, then think about it. If you separate from God, you separate from life. That's why we started to die. They were separated from their father. Okay? They began to die physically, spiritually, separated from their father. 他们的天父, okay? They had to leave the garden. They were driven from the garden, forced to leave 这个伊甸园, okay, the garden. As Adam and Eve left their home, 当他们离开他们的家, I can imagine what would it be like if you left your home, okay? They left behind, okay? 他们所离开的, okay? Behind, 在他们的背后, okay? What did they leave behind? More than a beautiful garden. 不单是一个美丽的伊甸园. Okay? Not just a garden. They left behind their former lives. They left behind, 他们已经离开 their former lives, the way they used to live. That was so full of 充充满满的希望. In this case, promise means hope. So full of hope and promise. They left behind their innocence. Innocent. What does it mean to be innocent? It means to be 无罪, 无罪. You've done nothing wrong. That's what it means to be innocent. And they left this behind because they were no longer innocent. They had sinned. 他们就犯了罪。最坏, worst of all, they left behind their trust in their Creator and friend. 他们就抛弃 what? 信任创造主和他的最好的朋友. So what did they lose? They lost everything. That's the truth of what went wrong. 这个真相就是在这个地方. What went wrong? The bad news is that we no longer trust God. And we left the source. God is life. 生命是在他. And when you leave that, you've lost everything. We'll come back in a few minutes. Okay, we're going to look at a word now, Lena.
好，
Innocence or innocent. What does that mean in Chinese?
这个词呢，在中文里边，我们可以说它是天真无邪。
That means that they had never done anything wrong.
对，
The sentence says they left behind their innocence. What does that mean?
我想这个就是说，亚当和夏娃他们从此再也没有办法回到那种天然的天真无邪的状态了。
Okay, very good. Stay by for a little bit more. Okay, what we've been talking about is the very beginnings, and in a perfect world, everything is wonderful, no sickness, no death, no dying, 一切好得不得了. But then something went wrong. So today's lesson was, what went wrong? Now, we've been looking at these ancient tales, these 古经, and we discovered that Adam and Eve did something that they were not supposed to do. God said, don't eat from one tree. But the serpent, the snake, convinced them, yeah, it's okay. God is lying. 神是说谎的啦. And so now Adam and Eve did it, and their relationship with God completely changed. They did not trust God. They trusted a snake. That seems strange, doesn't it? So, we will continue on. What comes next? Well, it keeps getting worse and worse for a while. But there is some good news. But we'll have to wait and see what the next interesting story from the ancient tales is all about. I do hope that you will join us at that time, and you'll bring a friend too.
That's all for today, and thanks for watching. If you like Ancient Tales for Today, please visit atft.chinesehope.tv. You may also contact us by writing to ancienttalesfortoday@gmail.com. Again, that's ancienttalesfortoday@gmail.com. Tell your friends about Ancient Tales for Today. See you next time.